cut ahead of time, I'm going to just cut them a little bit finer because a smaller shape at this point will allow a little less cooking time. If I were at home, I would actually want to cut these a little thicker because I like when they cook slowly at a lower temperature. It keeps a little flavor from escaping. But here, let me just cut these briefly. That way we can get them tender and we'll get a chance to taste this soup quickly.
So tell us about some of the other recipes that you wrote in Vias for Vegetables. What are some of your favorite recipes from the book?
Each chapter follows the alphabet. We asked friends and neighbors to contribute comments about vegetables. Brian Hall-Weil, one of the founders of this organization, of this event, said for the chapter C on cabbage, mentioned that cabbage was like the Rodney Dangerfield of the vegetable world, cheap, inexpensive, flavorful, but it gets no respect. And so each chapter is has a beautiful print from the Villemorin or 19th century seed catalog. And then it has photographs of plants that are whole stem, root, stem, and leaf intact. And it, I had to do some negotiating, but it has illustrations by my wife, Mindy Dubin. She wanted to know how much money she was going to make on the project. And I said, I'm working for free here. You're making all the money. But they're beautiful, beautiful illustrations that allow us to kind of look at vegetables. The idea was the way we flipped through a seed catalog. And I'm sure many of you have done this just in the beginning of the season, whether you're planting your garden or you're dreaming about what's going to be on the menu. I've just fallen in love with seeing those seed catalogs, and the etchings and the pictures and the print and the descriptors gave the inspiration for this book. So we wanted it to be an infatuation with vegetables, not specifically vegetarian or vegan, but the love of vegetables and how that defines our region. It's a great way to tell the story through colors and textures of who we are and where we're cooking. Carrots grow in 3 seasons and in most climates, and we might be able to turn the heat down just a little bit. And then, but nonetheless, they give storytelling, and it's a way for us to talk about what's unique about where we are and how we eat.
Awesome.
Okay.
So we're deglazing the pan with...
How about we deglaze with a couple of things? Let's just use a teaspoon of this pickling liquid, which will add a little bit of sweetness as well as some salt, and then obviously the aromatics. Here, that one's actually not the good.
Here, got one right here.
Maybe a teaspoon of that pickling liquid, and that will largely evaporate in the bottom of the pan. Maybe
just
2.
One? Okay, it's kind of small.
There you go. And then maybe like a half a cup of orange juice will give this a little sweetness and a little bit of acidity. We'll let it come to a simmer and largely evaporate.
Okay. What do you guys think? You're tasting the soup. How is it?
All right. You need some energy to get through this day. There are so many ideas around this room that it's head spinning. Separately,
so talk about what you're making down here. Mike has a stand at the end of this floor, and what are you serving today?
So the Gramercy Tavern table is at the end of this room, and we're serving a fall salad that is made of a fish croquette from our friends at Australis Barramundi, one of the sponsors of the event. Baby romaine lettuce, which is grown by Gotham Greens here in Brooklyn, and an aioli that is made with the mushrooms that you can find also at the end of this room from Southold Mushroom. We knew that everybody, like at a certain point into this day, starts to feel weary and wiped out. So we tried to come up with something that was as meaningful and as hearty as we could in the setting. So if you haven't already tried to come down and give it a taste, it's a yummy salad.
I did already have some. While you were on your panel, I was enjoying your salad down there. It's delicious.
So maybe we'll add a little, like just a half a cup of coconut milk, which will give this a slightly exotic taste.
Is that about right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I think another thing with coconut milk, thank you, is that I'm assuming this is full fat coconut milk.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people at home often try and cook with the light coconut milk, which for me, you might as well not be using coconut milk. I like going with the full fat coconut milk. Do you always use?
You know, we use it infrequently, and we use it in just splashes and places where, as you're eating or drinking that soup, you know, you just, it nudges the flavor profile in a particular direction without dominating the story.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, we always start by adding a touch, no matter what the recipe says. We can, you know, it's a blueprint. It's a sketch. It's just a direction for us to go in. And as you're cooking, you have to trust your senses and taste. And so, you know, we always want it to just be a nuance, a slight echo.
Okay.
We're looking good. Actually, if we could
Yeah.
ask for maybe a cup of water,
Yep.
that would, we didn't plan that.
No problem. Let me grab, actually here, I have a pint glass right here.
So we roasted a few carrots ahead of time, which we're going to use in addition to the soup that you just tasted. When we plate this in a bowl, unlike the taste that you just had, which was silky smooth all the way through, when we're eating a soup at the table, I like for there to be a textural contrast in every bite. So almost every soup that I serve at home or in the restaurant has a lot of stuff, a lot of garnish. I think that we get a little tired if you get 3 consecutive spoonfuls of just the soup base. It gets a little boring. So we try to keep it exciting by adding a lot of. That looks
You want
perfect.
the water to go in?
And then we haven't added any seasoning yet, so maybe
Okay.
a nice big couple pinches of salt.
Sure.
Maybe a little touch of pepper.
Okay.
The other thing that this carrot will bring is an amazing color. Is there a camera? I don't know how close you can see that, but this is another one of those moments where the book is written about this infatuation with vegetables. And so just looking at the colors and textures of what's grown around here is, you know, part of, I think, what got me into this business and what keeps me excited. And so, you know, we want to show that off in the foods that we cook. So we'll set this aside.
Okay.
We'll bring that back to a boil.
Okay.
And then maybe we'll push it off and we'll cook the shrimp.
Perfect.
I'm going to give this a quick taste. Can you see inside of this? So by cutting the carrots a little smaller with just that little amount of heat, they'll tenderize fast and we'll get a chance to taste this together. Pretty good.
Cool. Do we need more time?
Maybe just like, do we have a lid?
Yeah.
Let's put a lid on, and that way it'll stay hot while we're doing the shrimp.
Perfect. And so this particular recipe, you do you use shrimp in the book, or is that an add-on today?
No, it was just thinking about today. All right, you all are sitting there. You're going to taste a lot of delicious things today, but how can we just keep your attention for the next 5 minutes while we're talking about carrot soup? So it's not part of the recipe in the book, and it's one of many things that, you know, we can add to a base preparation. Plus, the other thing is about thinking about when you're cooking at home. Anytime I put a pot on the stove, I'm usually putting 4 or 5 things up, because if I'm going to spend an hour in the kitchen, I got to make sure that I'm putting 1 meal on the table and I have 2 more that are set aside in the fridge for the next day. We can't keep up with our busy lives unless we're thinking ahead like that. Grains give us a great chance to have a base of something that we can build on, and with a few beans or a few grains.
Do we have another one?
In the refrigerator, I feel like I can kind of walk into the kitchen, and I think our essential job as cooks is kind of making something out of nothing. And while it isn't nothing, it just means being able to kind of miraculously get a meal on the table while everyone is giving you that look of, I need to eat now. And that happens a lot. All right, so
we only have one induction cooktop, so I'm just going to remove this.
I think so, yeah.
And then we'll put it here.
The other nice thing is that more than ever, we all have different ways that we eat, even within one family. Someone has an allergy to one particular ingredient. Someone else can't tolerate dairy. Someone else is gluten-free, and so sometimes it becomes a little difficult to make sure, like, we can't manage an a la carte menu for every time we sit down as a family, but what we can do is cook things that can be served in one way and then easily added, and served in another. So in that sense, we're gonna get this pan hot, put a little oil in it, and kind of do. I guess it's a little combination of sautéing and stewing. We don't really have to cook all of those. Maybe we'll cook about a half of them.
Perfect.
And they're raw ruby red shrimp. Maybe if you season half of them with garlic, with salt.
Okay.
Man, I am on the garlic. That might be a little aggressive on the oil too, but we'll start it in a hot pan, and the shrimp are as easy as can be. We just want to give it a little touch of heat.
Just another second or two. So what are your, tell us a little bit about the menu at Gramercy Tavern. How often do you change the menu?
Well, the menu is in constant evolution. It doesn't change with the calendar. It changes both with the ingredients that are available, and really it changes in function of how the team is feeling about a dish, because they're going to get tired of cooking a particular dish a lot faster than a guest will get tired of seeing it in the restaurant. And so think about it, on a given night at Gramercy Tavern, each station is preparing anywhere between 20 and 40 portions of each dish during a lunch or a dinner service. And so that, the key to our business is keeping everyone engaged. And so if they get tired of seeing that dish, that's the time we know that we've got to keep their attention. Our job is to make them feel like they're learning. It's a very tough business to be in, and as long as people are gaining something from what they put into it, we know that they come to work excited.
That's great.
All right, that looks hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
That's the point where my mom starts to get nervous. The pot starts steaming, or
I think when you can start to smell the oil, it's.
We don't want to let it get too much hotter because the oil will change. It's a little
hot.
Here, we'll just go right in there.
Okay. Do you want to take over?
You're doing great.
All right.
Maybe we'll add just one more pinch of salt.
Yep.
And we'll add a little smashed garlic to that too.
Okay.
As if we didn't have enough. And
do you want to plate up the soup, or wait a couple more minutes?
Maybe what we'll do is, if you guys don't mind, we're going to cheat just a little bit. So I saved some of the soup that you just tasted, and we'll add it to the pot here.
Ladle.
Here, I'll just wash this up.
Yeah. Oh.
Great. Thank you. Alrighty. So this is the same soup that we have in the pot that has just been blended smooth in a high-speed blender or with a stick blender. And then the resting time was only a function of we only have one cooktop, so you don't have to necessarily set that on the side and wait. Once those carrots are cooked and tender, the soup can be blended or served. And so we have a nice little, if we let it cook a little longer, the onions and fennel will literally just disappear from the story. We can see them now a little bit. That's fine. It looks a little heartier and delicious. And then,
so you have your roasted carrots here that you just sliced.
These roasted carrots can be warmed in the oven, served at room temperature. They're going to add color and texture to the story. And then
I think we're getting pretty good here.
I think they're perfect, and you can turn the heat off. And all of a sudden, this kind of adding the shrimp, it turns into something that we might start the meal to, something that might be a main dish. in dinner. And in that way, in a pretty quick amount of time, we've been able to translate the flavors of a great fall carrot into a delicious soup, and given it just a little bit of personality, and hopefully something that gets everybody excited to come to the table and eat.
Thanks, Mike. Looks great.